TV shows like Gate,
Chitai Kano Chi Night Kaku Tatakarari.
yeah, that are the main reason I might understand the appeal of things like Transformers and Suicide Squad. Films that you know are not objectively great, or even worth your time, but they're so damn entertaining and speak to you on a personal level that you just don't mind their flaws. Or maybe you're amused by their flaws and that's why you enjoy them so much. In the case of Gate, it works, for me at least, only because the premise is something I have been fantasizing about for some time now, and its flaws mostly reside within this juvenile way of seeing the world and generic writing, not something too hard to overcome. Excluding the first 3 episodes, which are pure cancer, the show does manage to find a reasonable pace and develop a narrative that's not hazardous for viewing. But here, I'm not just going to defend my liking of the show, I'm mostly going to criticize it, because with a concept like this, where there's an appearance of a portal that allows people from anime Middle-earth to travel to Japan and vice versa, there's really no excuse for why this is a guilty pleasure instead of a Game of Thrones. But first things first, since in order to understand what went wrong, we need to talk about the first few episodes. This is gonna be tough, but not impossible. I'm going to use what Michael from Lessons from the Screenplay used in his essay about the structure of the Breaking Bad pilot. It's not a perfect system since anime episodes are around 20 to 25 minutes and a live action show is 45 minutes per episode, but I think I managed to find a good balance. It all starts with a teaser. The introduction to a dark, ominous world with creatures that are clearly not human and look pretty uninterested in doing anything. The sudden attack of a Dragon Ball villain that threatens the Earth itself, but then this Baldy boy shows up and kills him instantaneously, furthering his rabbit hole of depression because he just can't seem to find a worthy opponent. Or the friendship between 2 kids and the swift invasion of Japan by the Holy Britannian Empire. A teaser needs to grab the attention of the viewers as well as give useful information about the show. Gate's teaser is this: 2 armies, one modern and one from fantasy world, facing against each other, and that's it. No characters, no interesting actions, no exquisite animation, nothing. It's just this. Instead of taking advantage of the opportunity and show something exciting, it more or less presents the show's weak points. Simplistic, crappy animation without much substance. The rest of the episode is even worse, believe it or not. While One Punch Man, Death Note and Code Geass take their time to introduce it to their worlds, their main characters, premise and protagonists, Gate prefers to do all these things in the most convoluted way imaginable, and the end result is something that almost asks for a long movie review.
伊丹洋司33歳自他ともに認めるオタク彼は嘘吹く
俺はね趣味に生きるために仕事してるんですよだから仕事と趣味とどっちを選ぶと尋ねられたら趣味を優先しますよ
Yeah, so that's how you don't introduce a protagonist, not how you do.
お出口は左側です地下鉄銀座線都営地下鉄浅草線
I don't play cell phone games that often, but I'm pretty sure if you just press random keys with your eyes closed, nothing good will come of it. The way the game he's playing is portrayed, it's more similar to what the characters in SAO play than an actual cell phone game like Candy Crush. So either this representation is extremely fictionalized or it's purposely inaccurate because this way it looks more like the fantasy world from the other side of the gate.
いいかいか今日は年に2回のビッグイベントリサーチリサーチ
I'm sorry, but this is just plain stupid. It's not like he was walking, not paying attention, and then hit a post. He was using the fucking escalators, and there's no way whoever designed that place put a post immediately after the escalators. This is just bad direction. You can't understand the geography at all.
なんだエルフ魔法使いはゴスロリ
You're thinking this is going to tie in later on in the plot. You're wrong. There's never an explanation for why this character is having visions. He's the protagonist, so maybe that's why. Protagonist powers. Always helpful. There's no build-up, things just happen, without purpose, logic, or sense. They couldn't even have designed original costumes for the human soldiers. It has to look like Romans fighting alongside pigs and dragons. Oh crap is more for when you try to cook something and end up burning something, not for when you see people riding dragons. If it turns out that he isn't hiding anything, like he had a dream that predicted all of this, then whoever wrote this dialogue is an idiot. Whoever wrote the dialogue is an idiot. That's not funny. That's not how you do what you're trying to do. Watch One Punch Man and see how that type of comedy is made. I don't know if this is perpetuating the stereotype that playing video games makes you violent, or perpetuating the stereotypes that playing video games gives you real life skills. No matter how many hours you wasted playing Minecraft, you're not an expert on crafting shit. Why? Why would you do as he said? As far as you know, he's just a random civilian. He's not Captain America or someone in authority for you to follow his orders. And neither of these cops were present when he saved those people, so there's no reason for them to listen to him. I had forgotten how messed up the pacing was. Everything is so rushed that characters interact with characters they don't know in such a friendly and cozy manner. It gives the impression something is missing here. Did he just pee behind that tree? Is that why he looks relieved? That was creepy on too many levels. Let's start with the fact that showing this scene to kids would only be acceptable if the context was to teach them that you shouldn't talk to strangers, and what that little girl did was stupid, especially in a situation of mass panic when predators take advantage of the chaos. For this scene to work, you should have inserted a previous interaction between the main guy and the little girl, and since you decided to show the little girl in an earlier, pointless scene, there's no excuse for this idiotic, retarded moment. He didn't even say he was a soldier or anything. And this was a good time to deliver that useful piece of information. And this perfectly illustrates how lazy the writing of this show is. Several. You couldn't be more vague. See kids, play enough video games and you'll be one hell of a soldier in no time. Funny. Oh, he was already in the military, and that's how he knew how to do all those things. Why the fuck are you just now giving important information about the most significant character in the show? Just why?
指揮官の狭間である。1ヶ月前から石膏が何度も入ってはいるが、特使で何が起きるかなど誰もわからない。
You say you send scouts, but then you say that nobody knows what will happen once you cross the gate. Does that mean that the scouts didn't return? And in that case, why didn't you just say that? Or does it mean that the scouts didn't give sufficient information about what lies beyond the gate? This is what's wrong with the writing. It's so vague, brazen and baffling that it makes for a very uncomfortable viewing session.
ねえ伊丹にこっちには猫耳娘いますかね
That's a weird thing to say. It's a portal that connects Japan to another world, possibly another dimension or another planet. So how can you be sure that the soldiers you send will be able to survive the atmosphere if, like you said before, nobody knows what you will encounter on the other side? As far as you know, the scouts you send could have died because there's no oxygen on the other side, or there's some sort of bacteria that's deadly to human beings. For a government that figured out destroying the gate might not be such a smart idea, since another gate could open in another place, you could have also theorized that maybe the conditions on the other side are different from the conditions in Japan, and send a drone or something to see if it's okay for humans. I mean, the Romans that attack you look like human beings, but you were also attacked by pigs and dragons, so there's always a chance there was something else. Discounting the pilot of Tokyo Ghoul, which I despise for personal reasons, this is by far the worst first episode of any anime I have ever seen. The writing is shit, the characters are garbage, the animation is far too simplistic for me to ignore all the other crap, and the direction is baffling, leaving you with more questions than the first time you watched The Space Odyssey. This show is garbage on a fundamental level. I'm amazed this wasn't made by an AI like Cleverbot, that there were actual human beings working on this. My opinion has since changed, but it took a while for me to enjoy anything about this show. Both the second and third episodes suffer from the same symptoms as the pilot. Rushed pacing, awful characterization, abrupt plotlines, and childish generic writing. Take for instance the battle between the Japanese and the Imperial Army, right after Japan took control of the gate and crossed to the other side. That could have been interesting to watch, but nope. We only get to hear what happened through hackneyed exploratory dialogue in this terrible ripoff of a Roman Senate meeting. And they could have done a better job at connecting this storyline with the next one about the Empire allies attacking the Japanese. We only get the contrived explanation that the Emperor knew all along that the Japanese were too strong, and it's better to having them slaughter the other nation's army than run the risk of them turning against the Empire. I understand the logic, but his assumption only makes sense if he knew how strong the Japanese were in the first place. And if he knew that, then his attack in the first episode makes no sense. And this battle would have been the perfect opportunity to introduce characters that will be used later on in the plot. And when I mean characters, I mean the plural of the word character, not just the introduction of King Duran, whose appearance is nothing more than a glorified cameo. After all, we don't see him again for like 10 or 12 episodes. We could have seen Yatami and his squad fighting together, and maybe that Knight Grey or some other character witnessing the power of Japan. It's fun seeing explosions and stuff like that, but that's not what makes an action sequence compelling or memorable. We need stakes, and stakes only exist when characters we care about are present. Another thing this show does that really annoys me, besides wasting storylines, is the glorification of Japan's self-defense force. If someone said their reason for hating this show is because of all the military propaganda, I wouldn't be able to counter that argument. After all, nothing the SFD does is ever wrong or morally grey. They're always the good guys, ready to help villages from dragon attacks, defend cities under siege from bandits, and transport refugees. And when in the real world you have a variety of war crimes and massacres committed by civilizations with superior military might, you would think they could have had at least one plotline where a few soldiers do something wrong, like attack some remote village, kill its citizens, or use its citizens, and then take any valuables. Or maybe, after witnessing that this empire practices slavery and even enslaves some Japanese citizens, there could have been some members of the SFD that wanted revenge and attacked the empire by themselves. But nope, in this show, the SFD is a benevolent force for good, and you don't even want to know how the media is represented in this show. It's way too forced for anyone to believe in. And despite everything I just said, it's moments like this that made me love this show. Somehow, seeing helicopters slaughtering medieval soldiers satisfies a sadistic need that I didn't know I had. It's the idea of what would happen if in Vikings or Game of Thrones there was someone with a fucking machine gun. It's just so exciting to think about all the possibilities with a premise like this one that I endure all the flaws of Gate. Although I would be lying if I said that the fact the SFD never had to defend themselves against magic didn't piss me off. After all, magic and magical beings seem to be the only real threat to Japan and our world, so they could have done something with that at least. Anyway, Gate is terribly flawed with a fantastic concept, but since the only thing I have at the moment, I'm definitely going to keep watching and rewatching until my thirst for this type of stories is satisfied. Oh, and those pedophilic moments were way more creepy than adorable. Bye bye!